Welcome to the VIP Masterclass series. I'm Josh Wright, and today's episode is dedicated to Penelope. And she said, thank you so much for all the latest VIP videos you posted. They're all so helpful. Also, congratulations on your wife launching the Christmas CD, and happy holidays to each of you, however you celebrate, whether it's Christmas or Hanukkah or other ways. I hope you all had a wonderful Christmas. This is the video of December 18th. But I'm posting it after Christmas due to performing Rock 3 last week, which was insane, but it went well. I performed the third movement, and the week before that I performed the first movement, so I just have the second movement left to perform. Should be all good to go for the end of January, so thanks for your patience. She said, I had another question I would really like to have your view on. I realize it's always a challenge for me to keep the tempo when playing the music with expression. I encounter this issue on many different types of pieces, like Beethoven, Mozart, Haydn, or even Chopin etudes. I really do understand the need to keep the tempo to make the piece sound beautiful and like it should. However, when I think about the tempo, I tend to play in a more mechanical way and don't enjoy the music as much. And when I listen to the harmonies and feel the beauty of the music, I then tend to lose the sense of tempo and would then slow down in expressive parts and then hurry back on when the rhythm gets quicker or louder. Listening to your videos and to some advice I read, I practice, of course, with the metronome and try to listen to the rhythmic pattern in the melody or harmonies that I can follow. However, as it is a recurring challenge, it would be great to have your advice on how you'd approach it. It's a great question. I was thinking earlier about how I would approach this question, and I think the perfect introduction to this would be you have to determine whether you are a lagger or a rusher. So in other words, do you tend to push forward in your pieces or do you tend to lag? I tend to be a lagger. I tend to slow down so much to enjoy the harmonies. I have a student, and I'm also dedicating it to him. He's also a member of VIP, Brian, who tends to be a rusher, and he's such a beautiful player, but that's mostly the topics of our lessons is how can we keep the tempo. First of all, determining that will help you so much because, for instance, one piece that I always tended to lag on was the first Chopin Ballade. I've played it since I was very young. And I'd fall in love with each harmony, which is not a bad thing to do in your practicing. I wanted to hear this sigh so beautifully, but what it does is it robs the greater thing, which is a long, beautiful, breathing phrase. So now... So for me, I always need to be thinking, breathe, move ahead, keep that tempo going. It's like the tempo is the horse and I'm in the carriage playing the piano and that's pulling me along, okay? So the horse and the carriage is pulling me along. For someone like Brian, he's got to be the horse. He's got to say, okay, I'm pulling this cart. I got to make sure I slow it back down. So that was my first example, is that Chopin Ballade. I want to play something that Brian is working on. Since Penelope didn't ask for any specific examples, it gives me a little bit of freedom here. He's working on one of the Liszt constellations. And for instance, he always has a great habit of starting things very in control. Constellation number 3 in D flat by Liszt. And then he'll tend to... And then he'll always end his phrases very beautifully and slowly, but then it's like the next phrase tends to get ahead. So what he could focus on is, okay, no matter where I go within a measure or a half measure or bar, if you're in Europe, I know some of my European students like, what is that word you keep saying, measure? So whatever bar you're in, you have to say, okay, I have a reset point. So if you tend to be a rusher, you need to have a reset point. And if you're a lagger like I am, you need to have a reset point each measure too. So I probably wouldn't get too frequent with those reset points, because then you're going to end up playing it evenly anyway. But for me, if I tend to slow down on something, I've got to say every half bar or every full bar, I got to make sure that or maybe it's every 2 or 3 bars. If I have overall pretty good control, maybe you can just do this every, short phrase or something. And you say, according to whether you lag or rush, you say, this is a reset point. I either need to make sure I'm continuing to push, ahead. For me or for Brian, it would be, okay, I need to make sure I continue to reset that, have these little reset points along the way. So for instance, if he did this and he kind of let this get carried away, this would be a reset point, and this would be a reset point. So if it's once per bar, if it gets a little out of hand, as long as he eases into that next bar and kind of resets it, really help. Now, as you progress with these things, Thank you so much for watching. I've listed 2 links in the description below. One of them is to download this full video that you've just watched the sample for. The other is to view the entire library of VIP Masterclass series videos. I hope you've enjoyed this. Have a great week. Good luck in your practice sessions.